Many people spend their entire lives chasing money, working harder, trying to save more, trying to invest wisely. And yet, a lot of those same people still struggle when it comes to finances, money, and similar areas. And this may not be because they're lazy or because they're necessarily irresponsible, but because they were taught to see money through a completely distorted lens. And so what if I was to tell you that money isn't what you think it is? It's not just paper or numbers that are in a bank account. What if I was to tell you that at its core, money is energy, and that this truth and this single realization can change the money game for you completely. And for generations, elite families and secretive societies have understood this. They didn't pass down just financial strategies, they passed down frequencies and ways in which to use energy to attract things in. The rest of the world, however, was taught and trained to obey the illusion, to seek permission for it to come in rather than creating value which would help draw it in. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down more of how the energy of money works from a deeper place, an almost forgotten truth that actually is hidden in plain sight. We're going to go over some of the things that you can do, some of the strategies, some of the ways you can direct your focus and energy to draw more money into your life. And this will include things that successful people do that unsuccessful people are not doing, and it's one of the reasons that they struggle with money. So whether finances has always been a struggle for you, or even if it hasn't been and you're in a relatively good place but want to take it to the next level, then this video is going to help you as we go over how to do this and also some tools that you can immediately start to implement to draw more abundance into your life. Now, the first thing we need to look at is if we look out at the world, we can probably agree that the majority of people see financial life, see money as a struggle. And most people are, from their perspective especially, struggling when it comes to money, making it paycheck to paycheck, or there never seems enough to pay the bills on time or whatever else it is. Most people are essentially complaining about money, about finances, and how they can never have enough or never get enough, or it's always the situation that they don't like. However, what a lot of people haven't being taught that successful people absolutely have is it's this level of belief and thinking that absolutely keeps you stuck in the pattern of not having the finances that you want. And this is a trap I fell into personally for many years because we're just not taught this stuff. We're not taught how to actually be financially literate or how our energy and our internal world affects not just finances, but basically everything in our external world. And when I started to apply some of the things I'm going to give you today, all of that changed. And it almost appears like magic when you do this for long enough, where money stops becoming a problem and starts becoming something you're excited about and starts coming in, along with many other things. It's not just about money, but many of the other things in your physical life start to open up through doing this. Now, I'll go over this briefly because I mentioned this in so many other videos, but you can never hear it enough. Repetition, repetition, repetition is what's going to allow you to have these ideas at your mental fingertips. And it is the idea and truth that your outer world follows your inner world. And so it is that internal environment, the thoughts that you are thinking consistently most of the time, the energy that you are entertaining, also known as emotion or feeling. Emotion we can break down as energy in motion. Whatever you are entertaining in that realm most of the time will start to reflect and will start to materialize in your outer world. Now, we're not talking about some bizarro superpower thing where you're thinking and it instantly manifests something or materializes. That's not what we're getting at. What we are getting at is that over time, you will start to see the accumulation of the content of your thoughts and feelings start to present itself to you over time. Physically. It takes some time, but it will start to come in. Now, it doesn't always just come in like, boom, there's something there. It comes in the form of opportunities to act upon. It comes in the form of these certain events just seem to find you, these circumstances, but you then need to actually follow through on those circumstances. For example, if a new type of person comes into your life that could provide an amazing opportunity, well, if you don't engage with that person, opportunity is lost, right? Or an opening at something comes through, we have to actually engage with that. But the way we start bringing about those opportunities is through the internal, the inner world. So keep in mind that the outer world follows the inner world. This is 100% what's going on. Again, I'm not going to claim it's truth with a capital T because I don't think anyone really knows what that is. But from my observations, from a lot of the great data that's come out from this kind of stuff, from certain things like simulation theory and so much more, this seems to be the case. this. And most importantly, I've seen this work in my own life when it's been applied, and I've seen it work in the life of my clients when applied. Every single time it's worked out this way when they've applied this. An idea that I really love that kind of paints this picture is that the universe can really deliver anything to you, but nothing beyond what you can believe. So what's coming into your life or what's not coming into your life isn't a lack of ability on the universe's part or God or source or the system. It can deliver anything to you. It is absolutely limited by our own beliefs and the thoughts and feelings we are having internally. That will create the ceiling for how far you can go with anything. You know, there's a lot of people that think thoughts like, I never have enough money, and then wonder why they never have enough money. Or money doesn't grow on trees, and some people have and some people don't. Of course, putting themselves in the don't category, and then wonder why they don't. And let me be very clear, this works on the other end of the spectrum. Those who genuinely believe things like money is abundant, money comes flowing easily and effortlessly into my life, not as limp affirmations that they don't really believe, but as an actual belief system that they feel is correct and actually aligns with them, they end up having that reality. And again, this is one of the transitions I made that made a night and day difference, where I really do believe those things. It's not delusional, it's something that I actually believe, and then the evidence for that started coming in. A mentor of mine once said that we can never rise above the opinion of ourselves, and I found this so true. And so when it comes to money and wealth and abundance, and you can apply this to any other area as well, so if you're struggling in health, how are your beliefs looking when it comes to health? If you're struggling in relationships, same idea. But we can never rise above the opinion of ourselves. And so if we limit us in the money game, or limit ourselves in the money game to thinking things like, I can never seem to make enough, well, that's exactly how it's going to play out in your reality. Or, you know, again, I'm never going to be able to get that promotion. I'm never going to be able to deliver enough value to receive that value back. If you genuinely believe these things and send that kind of signal out from yourself, that's what's going to continually be materialized in your life. So a very powerful exercise that you can do is just list out genuinely and authentically and honestly all of the money beliefs that you currently have. Again, this isn't about being idealistic. This is about what's actually there, looking at this part of yourself that maybe you haven't been looking at consciously, and actually going, okay, I believe this, I believe this. I don't want to believe this, but if I'm being honest, my actions express that I believe that money doesn't grow on trees. It's not abundant. Some have, some don't. Then what I want you to do is, on the farthest part of the page from that, I want you to basically write out the belief you want to have instead of this one. And there's a reason I'm making you writing on the far side here. So you have the belief money doesn't grow on trees, for example. Maybe you want to replace that with the belief, actually, there is so much abundance to go around. There's so much money to go around. And, you know, it comes to me easily and effortlessly. Whatever you want to put over there, you're going to put over there. So this is what you're aiming for. However, you may not be able to believe it as of yet, which means it would be disingenuous, meaning every time you say this, say an affirmation, or every time you put your attention on this, you're not going to feel good and actually think this is true. It's going to make you think of the opposite. You're going to think, oh, money is abundant. No, it's not. You know, there'll be this pattern in your brain that goes, no, it's not. It clearly isn't. Look at this, look at this, look at this. And so we can't jump right to trying to install that belief for you. But what we can find is something in the middle, this best next belief that you can reach for that still feels good, but your mind will not reject. And so now you have the two contrasting realities. These are two very different modes of operation, where you currently at and where you would like to take it. Again, in this example, money doesn't grow on trees. Actually, money is abundant. There is so much to go around. And imagine how much easier your financial life and money would be if you genuinely believe this. And that's what the lens you were looking through in your everyday life. It would change the game for you. So what is a belief between these two that you can genuinely connect to and actually believe? It doesn't have your mind throwing in doubt because it's like, we can't believe that, but it also excites you. And so you want to feel out for what this is, and this is the next belief you're going to aim to install. And so whenever you go to the belief, and again, in this example, it is money doesn't go on trees, you interrupt that pattern and you start stating this new belief you've created that, again, you will not reject because you've done this exercise, but is a step up from this belief. Now, the great thing about this is after even a little bit of time of installing this new belief that's an upgrade from the old one, you may notice that you can go even further. And so you want to check in every few days or every week to if you can take it even further than this new belief you've been installing, if you've done enough with that to create more confidence to go even further. And you will be very surprised how quickly you can turn the dial in degrees to the point where you're at that belief genuinely that's on the other side of the page. So this is an exercise I would again invite you to do. You know, when we have videos like this, it's very easy to try and absorb the information or get angry at the video because it doesn't support your current worldview. And if that's the case, I'll just ask you, has your current worldview been helpful? Is it working? And if it's not, again, you don't have to do anything. Again, I'm not claiming truth with a capital T here, but I am claiming something that seems to work very, very well for those who do it. And if you want change in your life, if you want something to change, you're gonna have to look at things in a new way and try new things. And so all that to say, I would invite you to actually do this exercise and to start actually using it if you want to see change. Information does not create transformation. Application of information is the pathway that's going to help you take steps down that towards transformation, right? So you need to actually apply this. And so that's one exercise that you can use, again, with this idea of we cannot rise above the opinion of ourselves. If you have money beliefs that are, it's for some and not for me and whatever, I only ever make enough just to pay the bills, well, you're going to continually recreate those scenarios in your life. But if you can go a little bit beyond that, the scenarios you will notice will start to switch up. And again, I'm going to give you some more tools in this video that are going to help accelerate this and help you have better confidence and believability with being able to bring more in. But this is a great start because this is getting into the subconscious. This is like getting under the hood and changing things around so that you have better performance in the vehicle, right? So that's what we want to start with, is identifying what these are. Just keep in mind that those who have abundance typically have a very good relationship with abundance or money or finances or whatever word you want to use. We have been taught to believe that abundance is scarce, but it really, really isn't. And I know for a lot of people, that's a worldview that does not compute or does not fit in, but I would very much encourage you to try it on, that there is plenty to go around. There is so much, everyone can access abundance. And if you can believe that, you will start seeing more of it in your life. And I can see the comments I'm going to get already for having said that. But again, if you want to be the one who actually changes their position when it comes to abundance and being able to draw more in, then you need to have a good relationship with that. Again, those who are aware of this and do very well financially understand that if they give value, they will receive value. This is actually something mentioned in what's called The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. And again, if this is something you struggle with, I would highly recommend you listen to that audio track. It's not very long, and it's one that if you listen to time and time again, a lot of these ideas will be instilled within you. It also goes over the idea of you get what you think about most of the time, which is such a primary law when it comes to transformation that rings so true. Like I mentioned earlier, it's the internal world and what you're doing there that is going to create the reflection of that in your outer. But he also mentions in that audio track the idea of value and giving value. And when you give value, it has to be returned, right? When you give value, maybe not from the place you gave it, but in some way it will be attracted into your life. And a lot of people are complaining about not having what we call money as a form of value come into their life when they're not really giving much value out to begin with, which is one of the reasons why it's not coming back. And so if you learn and start developing yourself more as a person of value, as in you're giving value, you will absolutely see it returned. Now, keep in mind, I'm not talking about intrinsic value or like you're less of a person in that sense if you're not doing this. I'm not saying that at all. Everyone in my eyes is a beautiful soul, is basically the divine in a human body. So I'm not coming from that perspective. We're coming from the perspective of finances and receiving that value back for value you're giving. Going back to the idea of beliefs, another one that I found to be very, very true is a quote that you've probably all heard before, but it's the idea of whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. Meaning, with the context we're going over here, if you believe money is hard to get, won't come to you, or you'll always be scraping by, well, you're going to be proven right. However, if you can shift these beliefs to something more, like I have more than enough, and more is always coming in, abundance is all around me, I am a money magnet, and similar beliefs, and you genuinely believe them, you will also be proven right over time. Because when you start believing things like this, again, genuinely, opportunities start to come in to make them a reality. And they start to present themselves kind of from all over the place, because you get what you think about most of the time. Again, what you're doing inwardly will start reflecting outwardly. Now, many people become defeatist, I've noticed, because they don't know how they can change their money situation. Well, I have good news. The how is actually none of your business. So you can actually let go of that. A lot of people are in that situation like, well, I don't see a pathway out. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know how. Well, the good news is that's not even your job when it comes to the process. And I'm going to explain what your job actually is. There are actually many different ways to attract money in. Why is it that the same potential way will work for one person but not another, even if they have an equal amount of work, or they're putting in the same effort? Have you ever noticed that there might be two people who are doing the same amount or whatever else, and they're not getting the same results? One's doing much better than the other. Sometimes one will even put in what's called, seems like perceived less effort, but is doing better than someone who's putting in more. Why is that the case? If it's always about the strategy, or it needs to be about the how, wouldn't it just work for every single person who engages with that specific how? Well, it's for a few reasons. Again, that inner world is going to play a huge role, so their beliefs and what they're doing in the inner world. With the one who's being more successful, we could safely assume that their inner world is more cultivated. But it can also be that the how for the person who is being successful with it, that's the one that actually aligns with them, where the other person is simply doing it because they see it as a way of success, right? They see it as something that, well, it's successful for others, so sure it will be with me, rather than, again, tuning into what we're going to do or show you to do here, and then allowing the how to present itself. Say you make it a goal to earn more, and getting specific with this will actually help, so how much more, in that kind of way, and then let go of the control of needing to know exactly how it will come about. A how will then start to present itself. So you can let go of the how and simply hone in on what it is you actually want to bring into your life. The how is none of your business, as a mentor of mine has said. And again, for a lot of people's worldview, this will just seem wacky, but I've seen it work time and time again. It's almost like getting out of your own way and allowing the infinite potentials of the universe to finally go, oh, he's out of his own way, she's out of her own way. Now we can finally bring about a solution. They say they want this. Okay, what's the perfect thing for them? What's the thing that aligns to them when it comes to this? And again, this is just to prevent you from potentially falling into a trap that a lot of people do, which is they try and control the how. I want to make this much, but it's gotta be in this way, completely eliminating any other potentiality that would be actually most likely better for you to pursue anyway, would be more enjoyable, where you actually enjoy what you're doing and you're passionate about it, and so on. But because it's in the unknown and people get so comfortable with the known, what they already know about, they get stuck there rather than opening themselves up to possibility by letting go of the how. Now I want to go over what is a very unknown or underutilized law that is so powerful that utilizing this alone will already start to improve your future when it comes to money and finances. Again, this is another one you can use in other areas, but it is particularly powerful with money. So let's go over that next. So there is a law known as Pearson's Law that basically states that which gets measured improves, and that which gets measured and recorded improves dramatically. This is why if you work out or you're going on a diet or whatever else, and let's say you're working with someone who knows what they're doing, they're going to have you measure things out, they're going to have you record things, you're going to take your weight and everything else, because it's whether they know it, and they're doing this intentionally or unintentionally, because they just have observed that this works, it's utilizing Pearson's Law. You're not only measuring it, but you're also recording it. Now again, why this works, the mechanisms behind it most likely have to do with the observer effect and other things that we have when it comes to influencing reality. But just understand that this is something that will absolutely help you when it comes to improving your numbers, especially when it comes to something. So we can use this with finances. One thing I want you to observe about a lot of people who are successful, especially financially, and when it comes to this, is they always know their numbers for the most part. And You can maybe find exceptions, maybe they have someone who's doing it for them, but they keep track of their numbers. And now I'm going to tell you that the vast majority of people, especially the ones that are struggling financially, do not usually keep track of their numbers. They aren't aware of what they are. They're not recording and measuring them and utilizing Pearson's Law. But if you were to start tracking your finances, your money, measuring them, and then recording them, you will start to see opportunities for increase. What this also does is it starts getting you thinking about money more. And like we said earlier, you get what you think about most of the time. Now, one amazing way you can do this that I learned a long time ago to help you increase what's coming in is to track, again, utilizing Pearson's Law, all of the money that starts coming into your life on a month-to-month basis. Now, it is also very wise to track everything else, your expenses, and again, know your numbers in all areas. But for this exercise, you're just tracking what comes in because, again, we want to trigger Pearson's Law to bring more about of what we're tracking. And so you would simply each month, you can have a calendar for this. I do it in a journal and I just kind of draw out the calendar because I can take notes and I just like to free write a little more than having it on an app. But you can also use it on an app. And what you're going to do is anytime money comes in any amount on that day, you are going to say how much is coming in. Before the month even starts, if you know that there's money coming in on a certain day, you're also going to record that. And that's not going to go towards how much you've earned this month in the sense of money you didn't know, but it's still something you want to track. So let's say on the 21st, you have a few thousand coming in from a job, a paycheck, and then 2 weeks before that, you have the same. You're going to put that there. And then any more that comes in, you are just going to start tracking and keeping aware of. Now, if nothing comes in, you just put a 0 in there and you move on. Now, as you're doing this, you may find some things start to surprise you with what starts coming in. You might even notice, and this has been reported, that this will happen to some people, is especially as you start improving your beliefs around this, I'll say that as well. Once you start improving your relationship with money and the beliefs you have around it, you will start to notice certain changes with it coming into your life and everything else. But you start noticing that things will come in, opportunities may start to present themselves. Of course, for me, I run my own business, and when I do this, I notice that just kind of out of nowhere, certain clients may come in, certain other things may come in, new opportunities start to present themselves. And so a lot of times on my money map, I'm like, oh, okay, this wasn't expected, but this came in, this came in, this came in, this came in, and you then simply calculate it at the end of the month to see the total, and then you can start setting goals for yourself and everything else if you want to for the next month. What I like to do is on the next month, I'll go, this is what it was last month, and then here's the money I know is already coming in, and here's the total. And then if I want to, I may set a goal, I want to aim for this, but for a variety of reasons, I don't always do that. But you can do that. There really isn't a problem to do that. So I would highly encourage you to utilize Pearson's Law and make sure you're measuring and tracking what's coming in. And again, if you don't know the other stuff as well, I would highly recommend you do that as well. Again, you can just take this information, listen to it, oh, that sounds good, and never use it and then not get results, or you can implement it and you are going to start seeing changes if you actually change some of the actions you're taking. Now, another big challenge people can have when it comes to money is their relationship with it. There's a lot of people who've been taught to hate it, right? They're taught to hate people who have it, they're taught to hate it, but then they complain when they don't have it. And so if you have this kind of relationship with money, again, it doesn't make you a good or a bad person. That's not what we're talking about here. All we're saying is if you do have that kind of relationship with money, it's gonna need to change if you want it to come in. Again, think of money almost like a person in this sense to make this work. If you were giving hate to a person, if you were saying, I hate this person, anyone who likes this person, anyone who has this person in their life, I hate them as an extension of that, and then you wanted that person to come hang out with you, do you think they would really want to? No, not at all. It would be like, I'm gonna stay far away from this person. They just send me hate. And if you treat money in the same way, it is going to avoid you. Again, you get what you think about most of the time. If you throw hate at money, well, you're just gonna get more reasons to hate money come into your life. So send love to money, send love to finances, love the things you get to buy with money, that you get to pay your bills with money, appreciate it, and things will begin to change. Now, there is a great technique that you can use to start training yourself out of this maybe upbringing you've brought to hate money or think there is lack, and it's called Arigato in your money. I got this a long time ago from Mindvalley, and I'm failing to remember the exact author who is a Japanese author with the word arigato, obviously, who interviewed someone who had this concept. And I think like the person he interviewed was known as the Warren Buffett of Japan, right? And he asked him like, what is your secret to wealth and finances. And the first thing he said is, well, I just arigato my money. So not only was it not this complex, super detailed thing, it was just simply, well, I arigato my money, which means I give thanks to it. Now, the way you utilize this practically is anytime money passes your hands, anytime you make a transaction, anytime you receive it, you arigato your money. And yes, that means whenever you're paying a bill. That means whenever you're giving money away in a way that would anger you or frustrate you in the past. You want to change the relationship you have with money, or else you just won't be able to attract it in. And so the way you do this is every single time, again, you receive money, you just take a moment to say arigato and feel very thankful for that money coming in. I don't care if it's 2 cents, $200, or 2,000, every single time you want to give thanks. Now, you don't have to do this out loud, you can do this internally as well, but you want to aim to really feel this. Now, at first, if you're not used to this, you may struggle to connect and feel it. Don't worry, as you keep practicing, this will get better, and each day you will usually be presented with many different opportunities to do this. So when money comes in, arigato, right? When you pay for something, arigato, whether it's a coffee or whether it's an expensive, that you consider expensive bill, right? So let's say it's an electricity bill and you would normally get frustrated by this and you would go into a victim mode or whatever else. You're instead going to say, you know what? Arigato, thank you, because this money that I'm giving to this bill allows my lights to stay on. This money allows me to enjoy the modern day conveniences that for most of human history were not available. Oh, my water bill. Oh my God, thank God I have running water. Arigato, that I get to pay money to have running water, right? Arigato, that I have a roof over my head and I pay my rent or my mortgage or whatever else to allow me to do that. See how that flips the perspective, right? And so you're being grateful for anything. Oh, arigato for the coffee. You know, I'm paying, it seems, you know, in the past I would have thought that's expensive for a coffee, but now I'm just thankful, right? Arigato. And you're going to notice that things, again, start to shift in the way you view money, but it's also going to develop a more loving relationship with it, which is going to make you more magnetic for it. Now, another tip I want to give you, and of course use arigato in your money in tandem with this, is whenever you see any form of money in your reality, do not ignore it or pass it up. Understand that to the system, to the universe, there's no difference between a penny and a $100 bill. And so if you saw a $100 bill like on the ground and it was obviously no one's and no one had picked it up and say it's like under something and like maybe you tried to see whose it was and it was just no one's, right? Would you pass it up? You probably wouldn't. But most people will if it's a penny. Most people will if it's a nickel. Most people will if it's an amount they just kind of turn their nose up. But what energy that is giving off to the universe, to the system, again, to that internal world, is I'm turning my nose up at this thing called money. And so a little practice you can do that I found great benefit from, and again, a lot of people I've taught this to have found great benefit from, is whenever you notice money of any form in your life on the ground in any way, you pick it up. You do not ignore it. You do not pass you by, because that is reality bringing you it in some form. And again, it doesn't know the difference. And it will bring you that as much as it will bring you higher amounts too. But if you start turning your nose up to the pennies, to the nickels, to everything else, then it's going to prevent those other amounts from coming in. So you pick it up, you say arigato, and you pocket it. Right. Again, if it's someone else's thing and you know someone lost their wallet, you don't keep the wallet. Like, don't do that. That's incredibly bad karma. Don't do something like that. Like, oh, I found a wallet with $1,000 in it. Oh, well, sucks to be you, whoever this was. No, you obviously want to, in that scenario, find the person and do it in that way. And again, that's also going to help the relationship with all of this as well, right? Like $1,000, you know what? It's not mine. I'm abundant. I'll make that in some other way. I'm going to give this person their money back. They probably just dropped their wallet, and who knows what will arise from that kind of situation, just being the person who's in the good energy when it comes to that. But when you're seeing the coins, when you're seeing all these things, don't ignore them. Don't put yourself in danger, because I've had people give silly comments like, well, what if it's in the middle of traffic? Should I run and somersault my way out there and get hit by a car to No, obviously not. I would hope that goes without being said. Like, if it's something you can't get to, then don't do that, right? Just give thanks for it and move on and go, you know what? Thank you, arigato, for this showing up in my reality. It's not something I can go and get right now. It's out of my reach. You know, it's like I can see it, but I can't get it. But thank you so much. Arigato for bringing that my way. Again, still maintaining a good relationship with it, saying thank you to the universe, God, source, whatever you want to say, for bringing this thing you've been asking for in, and then going about your day. But again, if it's right at your feet, you can get it. I would implore you, I would invite you, pick it up, give thanks for it. So now, as we're moving into the tail end of this video, For those of you who have stuck around, I want to give you what is one of the most impactful concepts when it comes to your relationship with money. You see, a lot of people allow their finances to dictate their inner state. This, of course, is a problem because, like we mentioned, the outer world follows the inner world, money being something in the outer world, and allowing that to dictate people's emotional state. What this means is when money is good and you have it coming in and it's not going out, people feel pretty good. They allow that to make them feel good. But then when it's leaving or you're paying a bill or it doesn't seem like as much as coming in this month, people tend to feel pretty bad. And this is backwards to the way in which you want to operate when it comes to this if you want to continually attract abundance in your life. And successful people know this too. They understand that there is an ebb and a flow to money. And so those who are truly successful develop a relationship with it where they're not cursing it or feeling awful if they have a down month. They might look for solutions. They might go, okay, what happened there? But they're not feeling guilt or shame or fear or any of these things. They've developed a much better relationship knowing that if they keep their emotional state high, well, it's going to fill right back up. But there's just an ebb and a flow to this. A lot of times they understand how important their inner state is when it comes to drawing in more wealth. And so when it leaves and it's not coming in for a while, they'll be like, well, if I just keep doing the right things, I maintain myself and I stay calm during this storm or whatever it is, I know it'll be back. Again, going back to that belief system, a lot of people panic when it starts leaving. People with a better belief system go, well, you know what? Money ebbs and flows, and I know that at some point soon it will flow back in. It's just going through an ebb right now. Much better belief to have than say, I need to panic, I need to scrape, I need to scrounge, I need to do all of this because it's out at the moment. So the way this concept was explained to me that I think is very beneficial is imagine you have two bank accounts. You have your financial, which you know what that is, that's obvious, so as normal, what that would be. But you also have an emotional bank account. And the way, like I said, most people apply this relationship is say their financial bank account is up here, then their emotional bank account up here, they're feeling pretty good. But let's say the financial starts to dip a little and say 1 month or whenever you're going through a little bit of a financial lull, what happens to most people is their emotional bank account comes back to meet it. And they're constantly on this roller coaster ride of the emotional bank account always following whatever the financial bank account is, right? And again, the way we want to approach this is we want to have our emotional bank account here as much as possible. And even when the financial goes through an ebb, we stay here. And this will also utilize a law of the universe, actually the predominant law of the universe, known as the law of balance and harmony, which again is the outer world following the inner world. And so if you stay here, even when the finances go down and money seems a little tight or whatever else, and you stay here, it guarantees that this will start coming back up in the fastest time possible for you because your inner state has been maintained. And if you want some more explanation on how law of balance and harmony works, I will link a video at the end here so you can learn more about how that process works. It's so crucial to know this because it is basically the predominant law of the universe. Everything is acting upon balance and harmony. And again, not in the ways you think. People hear that word and they assume what that is and then go, well, that's not true. Well, you're assuming what it is rather than letting us explain how that actually is operating and then being able to utilize it so you can see the practical benefits of that, right? But understand, imagine you have two bank accounts. Next time your financial one goes low, what I would like you to practice is practice depositing into your emotional bank account so that can be high and maintain this higher place. And if you do that, over time, that ebb will cease and it will cease quicker and you'll go back to that flow where the finances will start to come back. Understand, people who are very, very successful understand the ebb and the flow and the nature of how this works. They do not panic when they're in an ebb. It is natural for there to be an ebb. In fact, there cannot be a flow if there is no ebb. There can be no crest without a trough. There can be none of that, right? You need both, and the understanding of that will be very helpful when you're going through the ebb, which is where most people panic. Now, one thing that's going to really help, and this is kind of an advanced level thing, again, something that we give our clients in our program, Maxit, which you can learn more about through the first link, but it's called reducing the significance. A lot of people put so much importance or significance on money that it actually drives it away. Again, think of it like a neediness. If you're in a relationship and someone's being very needy or someone's pursuing you, that is very needy, or even in friendship, usually it's pretty repellent, right? And so think of it in the same way. When you raise the significance, you're repelling whatever it is that you're raising the significance towards. And again, this is because of the law of balance and harmony, which again, I will link you to a video to explain that. But if you lower the significance, meaning you can have something you're aiming for, but it's not life or death if it doesn't happen. It'll be this or something better. If you can create that kind of relationship towards it, you allow it to start coming in because you're not putting all of this significance or importance or life or death thing on it. Again, to relate it back to relationships, how does it feel if you can feel or if you sense that someone is predicating their happiness on you? Right? Like you are the source of their happiness, and if not for you or you doing certain things, they won't be happy or they won't feel loved or whatever else, right? It's quite a burden, right? It's quite a lot of pressure that, oh, if I don't do something, this person's going to be miserable or this person's going to feel unloved, rather than them being able to draw that from a source of themselves and be able to do that from their own place and then take that into the relationship, right? So ultimately with this, you want to think of it in the same way. So yes, you want more money, you want more value, you want all of this, but you need to approach it from a place of not pedestalizing it, right? Not putting it as this mystical thing that I'll never be able to get, but I do want. So have a preference, but be okay with, you know what? If this never happens, I'm totally okay. Again, that doesn't mean it won't, but you are reducing the significance. Again, this has been also known as detachment, and true detachment doesn't mean you don't want the thing in the sense of, oh, it'd be nice if I wanted it. A lot of people like to claim detachment, like, oh, I don't care about money. Okay, here's $1 million check. You're not going to take it? Well, I mean, if you're going to just give it to me, right? A lot of people will be like that, right? And so detachment isn't necessarily meaning, oh, you don't have a preference or something you desire. What it means is you're not idolizing it. You're not putting it on a pedestal. You're still going to be fine and enjoy your life regardless, but you're totally open to attracting that thing in. And so if you develop that kind of relationship with money, you will find more of it comes in because it's now safe for it to come in. There isn't this needy, repellent energy that you are approaching it with, and you're coming from this place of, you know what? It'll be this or something better. Yes, this is my preference, but I'm totally open for, where life's going to take me, and maybe something will be a better route for me, right? And so if you can reduce the significance, you will find that this will work so much more effectively. And finally, one thing that's going to really help before I give you the video for what's next is having what's called a definite chief aim. Now, I've gone over this in other videos as well, so I'm not going to go into a deep dive, but remember how I said you get what you think about most of the time? Well, I'm also going to tell you that it's very hard to bring about something if you're focusing on multiple different things all the time, right? And so what a definite chief aim does is it helps you to determine what is the best thing for you to focus on, one that not only you believe, so you believe that you can actually do it, so you're not throwing in doubt, but also excites you that you can put your attention and your thoughts and everything else on. Now, having a financial goal with this is a very good goal to have, and in fact, one of the easier ones to focus on because we can get very specific. For example, you could say my definite chief aim is to make $10,000 in a month, right? And then once you do that, you can go beyond that. It could be I want to make a certain amount in a year. It could be a career goal or whatever else, and it gives you something to focus on, like a laser beam, to focus your thoughts on, to focus your feelings on, that allows it to come about. Now, you will notice some other videos I've gone over this concept, but I did promise you this video right here where we're going to go over the law of balance and harmony, which is the predominant law of the universe. And so if you learn this and then apply also what you learned in this video alongside it, you're going to be flying when it comes to finances if you stick with these concepts.